I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Nicole Luque. I'm a UCLA alumni. I'm class of 1999 in mathematics. And I've been involved with the Rose Bowl Bruins for probably about 16 or 17 years now. I'm one of their board members. And we're the regional alumni group here in the San Gabriel Valley area. And baking has been a hobby of mine and interest. And tonight we're offering you a class to learn how to make buttermilk biscuits and strawberry jam. And the professional tonight, I'll let him introduce himself.
All right, my name is Antonio Hernandez, and I've been baking, just a little bit about myself. I've been baking since 2012. All the baking experience I have has been around in the LA area. I started baking for this bakery in downtown LA. It's called Bread Lounge. And from there, I've been moving around to some other bakeries. Here we are with the with our biscuits. And hopefully, this is very simple. It's nothing too complicated. You don't need much of equipment. Actually, you only need tools, time, dedication. And if you are, somewhat good with your hands, this is going to happen. All right?
Great. So thanks. We'll get started in a moment. All right. So I'll have him take over. And thank you for attending tonight. And Antonio, take it away.
Right. Well, okay, guys. Well, so first, I'm prepared. I have pretty much everything I need, and which you can see it's not very much. So we have, let's do like a check of all the things that we need, including ingredients and tools, all right? So we need, for the ingredients, we need our AP flour, we need sugar, we need salt, baking powder, and baking soda, all right? So basically, these are our dry ingredients. In the refrigerator, for now, still cooling, I have my butter and buttermilk, all right? And that I will take out of the fridge just in a minute, and I'll explain why. So now, when it comes to our tools, we need our bowl. So this is where all the mix is gonna happen. We need a cheese grater, we need a whisk, plastic spatula, we need our pin roller, we need a metal scraper or a spatula as well, a knife to cut, and this is what we call a pastry brush, all right? And we will be using all of these in just a few minutes, okay? So for now, we have 3 cups of AP flour, and we're gonna put it in our bowl. Next thing what we're gonna do, we're gonna add our sugar, salt, baking powder, and our baking soda. All right. Let me get rid of this. Now, all right. Then we're gonna use a whisk, because we need to mix gently, we need to mix all these ingredients just to make a little, so they're all combined. We do this so we don't have like little lumps of either salt, sugar, and everything is well mixed before we add all our fat, in this case, the butter and the buttermilk, okay?
I'm going to interrupt with a question real quick.
Yeah.
We have someone asking, does it have to be buttermilk, or can they use regular milk, low fat?
Well, it has to be buttermilk because the acidity of the buttermilk is going to activate our baking soda and our baking powder, all right? So that will help you once the biscuits are in the oven. That's going to help you to get like a nice fluffy texture in when they're baking. You can do that. Yes, I mean, to answer the question, yes, you can do that, but you won't get the same result as if you were using buttermilk for this recipe, all right? And maybe later down the road, you can experiment with different types of, in this case, milk, whole milk, buttermilk, heavy cream, stuff like that. All right, but for this particular one, we do need the buttermilk, okay? All right, Any more questions?
Can
So,
you talk about the flour and the different types?
yeah, absolutely. So this recipe calls for AP flour, and in this case also calls for a specific brand, which is the King Arthur flour. And the reason why is because this particular brand has, among the all-purpose flours, it has the highest content of protein. And this will help you to get chewy enough biscuits, but not too chewy. So it gets also, it'll work on the fluffiness, and the texture will benefit from getting this flour. Some other flours, for instance, I don't know if you guys have heard of like pastry flour or bread flour or high gluten flour. So the difference between all those flours is the level or the percentage of protein in these flours. Okay, the higher the higher the protein, the more chewy the result is going to be. One example is the high gluten flour is mostly used for to make pizza, to make breads, and when you use that, you obtain a nice chewy texture once they're out of the oven. All right. So going back.
And I'm just going to ask you a couple other questions that are pertinent to now.
Yeah.
So someone said, do we need to preheat the oven at this point right now?
No, I mean, yes, if you want, but no, actually, let's not do it. Let's wait until I do it. You guys can go ahead and do it because, and this is because at some point we're going to need to put to rest our biscuits. And the period of resting is going to be between you turn the oven on and it reaches the temperature that we're going to need to bake them, okay? So let's not do it at this point in time, okay? When I'll do it, you guys can go ahead and do it, all right?
And one last timely question is, can you please say again, what are all the ingredients you have right now in the bowl? Both the name of the ingredient and the quantity that you have.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, for sure. So in the bowl right now, we have 3 cups of all-purpose flour. And like I was saying, we have the King Arthur flour, all right? We have 2 tablespoons of sugar. I have 4 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1.5 teaspoons of table salt, and that's all we have for now. And like I said, we put it all here. These are our dry ingredients. We're going to mix them with our whisk in order for them to get like a proper mixture, okay? And that's all we have over here. The rest of the ingredients, which is the butter and the buttermilk, I have them still in the fridge because you actually don't want them out until you're about to use them, okay? So I guess I'm going to go ahead and get the butter out of the fridge so we can continue. Is there any more questions?
Sorry, there is one.
Sorry,
there's one other timely question that I'm going to say now. Someone asked, what if they're using salted butter instead of unsalted? Would they reduce the salt in their recipe, or is that not recommended?
Well, no, it's better if you use unsalted butter. The thing is, butter, I'm sorry. The problem is we don't know the quantity of salt, to be precise, that the manufacturer puts in the butter, okay? So if you want to use salted butter, if you cannot find anywhere unsalted butter, all right, use it, but the risk that you are, the problem is going to be that you probably get, you can reduce probably the amount of salt that you're going to be using, but this is going to be like an experiment, okay? You won't get the result that the recipe calls for. But yes, if you want to use it, go ahead. The only thing is you might get too salty of biscuits, but then you know that next time you make them or bake them, you're going to have to use a little less of salt for this recipe, okay? But you can cut the salt gradually, but then you're going to have to bake, you have an excuse now to bake more times, okay? In order for you to get the right amount of salt that you like, all right? So I'm gonna get the butter out of the fridge. So now the recipe calls for it's 2 sticks of cold unsalted water, and this basically it translates to half a pound. All right. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna butter, and we're gonna place it here in our bowl. We're just gonna coat the butter. Okay. Yeah, so we want to coat the butter because then we're gonna be so if you can see, you just roll your butter in your dry mixture. Okay. So what we're gonna do now with your cheese grater, what you can do is grab the medium setup in the cheese grater. It's better because we are aiming to get like flakes of the butter incorporated in our dries. Okay, so you're gonna go and grate the two sticks of butter. If you feel that it's getting too sticky, go ahead and coat it again and repeat. All right, until you get all your butter done. Okay, so keep going. Any more questions?
Yeah, we have a couple questions here that are also timely. One said, may they use bread flour?
You can, yeah, okay. Yes, you can use bread flour as well. That's not a problem, okay? You'll see the result. And the only way to know the difference between all the flours that you can use, because for whatever reason you're not able to buy what this recipe calls for, the next time you're going to do this recipe, you can use a different flour so you can compare between one and the other. So that's the only way of knowing. Who knows, maybe you like the texture better. All right, so here you are. We get to pretty much to the end of the butter. If you don't feel comfortable going all the way down, you can actually stop where you are, save these little pieces of butter because we're going to use them later. So we're going to put it in our little container. And then we're going to grate our second stick of butter. Any more questions?
And I have another, this is a butter question.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Bruins want to know, is it okay to substitute vegan butter?
No, it's not. It's not. Not for this particular recipe because the butter, the content of fat, the combination of fat and water, that combination once it's in the oven is going to make your biscuits fluffy. All right. So once our biscuits are in the oven, the water is going to evaporate, but at the same time, it's going to create those little layers that we're looking for. So they're flaky.
Okay.
All right.
So just not for this particular recipe?
Not for this particular one, yeah.
Okay.
I know there are some recipes that call for like vegan butter and all that, but then the procedure could be a little different. Okay. So here, I finished grating my second stick of butter, and I'm going to save the rest. So once we achieve that, all right. So next up, with your hands, using your hands, you're just going to grab. You see this? These are the little pieces that we're looking for. Okay. So you're going to grab and mix with your fingers. Try to coat without pressing. Be gentle. You don't want big lumps of butter, all right? So if you see something like this, let's call it like In baking, they call it like a pea size, all right? That's perfect. But be gentle, do not press, because we don't want like big chunks. Otherwise, what we just did of grating the butter, it's of no usage for us, okay? So, all right. So once you see that pretty much all of your butter is coated with flour, it's time for us to get our buttermilk out of the fridge, okay? All right.
Another question, why
Sure.
why are we keeping the butter and the buttermilk in the fridge?
So, okay, the reason why is this is to prevent the butter from melting, all right? So the colder the butter, the best results are you gonna get. You don't want room temperature butter because then you don't have a biscuit, a flaky biscuit. You're gonna get like pretty much something like a piece of bread, so to speak. All right. So we need the butter to be solid. All right. And the fact that we have our butter in the fridge right before we use it, that's going to help us to get better results. Okay.
And one more
Sure.
timely butter question.
Mhm.
Is it okay to do it with frozen butter?
Yes, that's great. Actually, that's a good question. Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. And lastly, why do you grate the butter instead of melting it? Why are we grating it into
Like I
small
was saying,
pieces?
we want solid butter, okay? Because the pockets of the fat and the water containing in the butter are gonna help our biscuits to rise once they're baking, okay? If it's melted, then we don't get any of the benefits from melting butter. Like I said, if we melt the butter for this purpose, we're gonna get bread, just plain bread. There is not gonna be any flakiness, and you won't see the layers, and that's the difference, okay? So next, what we're gonna do, we're gonna add our buttermilk, okay? Try to get all of your buttermilk, all right? And then with your plastic spatula, you're gonna fold, all right? So the folding technique is you go to the bottom of your bowl with your spatula and you bring everything up to the surface, okay? And you rotate your bowl. Also, I'm left-handed, okay? So that might be throw you off, but this is how you do it, okay? And probably you're gonna realize that the buttermilk is not pretty much getting most of the of our mixture of dry ingredients and the butter. It's not gonna get it all wet. That's fine, nothing to worry about just now, okay? So we're gonna clean the excess, and I'll tell you that in a minute. So this mix is pretty crumbly right now, okay? You probably see a lot of dry pockets of in your bowl, nothing to worry about. All right, next thing, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna place all your mixture in your working surface, all right? And get it all out, okay? So next, what we're gonna do, using your bench scraper, try to get it into a little rectangle.
Someone asked if they don't have a bench scraper,
Okay.
How could they do this? What's another way to do it?
Okay.
And we also got a couple requests to slow down.
Yeah.
People are still transitioning from the bowl to the shaping right now.
Yeah. So, okay, if you don't have you probably can do this with like a thick or large ruler, all right? Because what you need is something, a flat surface that helps you achieve this rectangle that we are. So check this out, okay? Or if you have a knife, but you have to be very careful, you can also do this with a knife, like I'm doing right now. Okay. And that's what we're looking for, okay? So this rectangle is like, let's say, 7 inches by 11, okay? And this is going to be our mix, okay? So,
so what is the process that we're about to embark on right now? What is the whole point?
So the whole point of doing this rectangle is that we're going to start doing what we call in baking folds. We're going to be folding like what you do on a letter. You know, when you write letters, not too many people do that now, but when you do letters, so you're going to you're going to be doing one fold and then a second fold. All right. So let me show you.
And sorry, one other timely question. Someone's wanting to know about the consistency, and they said, should it be crumbly when it went out on the sheet?
It should be very crumbly, correct? Yes.
Okay.
So don't worry if it's crumbly, because that's fine. That's actually one of the characteristics of this recipe is that it has to be crumbly. All right. So next, the bench scraper, what it's going to do is it's going to help us to with our folds, okay? So pay attention to this, because this is going to be, we're going to repeat this at least 3 times, but I want you to pay attention to the process because it's important. We're going to repeat it again, okay? So our first fold, you're going to grab. And don't worry if it's not perfect. Nothing is perfect right now, okay? You're gonna grab at least 1/3 of the rectangle, and you're gonna fold it. Okay? You're gonna fold it like that. Then you're gonna grab the rest. See how crumbly it is? That's fine. That is perfect, okay? And we're gonna do it again. All right? And don't worry about it. This is going to disappear as we go, because we're going to do this, like I said, minimum of 3 times. Okay? And with your scraper or with your knife, you're going to help, all right, to create another rectangle. Okay? So that was our first fold, okay? Everyone's okay so far? Please type some questions if you have them, because then we're going to move to our next.
Okay, what is the thickness of the rectangle?
So the thickness of the rectangle could be anywhere. Let's call it, let's say it's 2 fingers, which will be like what, like, let's say 3 inches. And this is going to dictate how thick your biscuits are going to be. And actually, at the end of the day, this is going to depend on how thick you want your biscuits. Okay.
Another question: how wet is the mix?
The mix doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be. If you're able to see this, it's you're gonna have crumbly. You're gonna have dry parts. Okay, so don't worry about it.
And will that change?
It will change. This is going to come together down the road. Like I said, we're going to repeat the process of folding. We're going to repeat it 3 times, and at least 3 times. Okay, so we did our first, and then using your roller, you're gonna go. Be very gentle since it's crumbly, and then you gonna make your rectangle a little bigger, okay? Just so you have enough room to keep doing the folding, okay? And don't worry, like I said, this is dry. It's not like they call like a, this is not gonna be put together just now, okay? We're gonna be working on the on getting this dough a little bit more put together. But for now, we're okay.
One timely question. Someone has commented their dough is super crumbly
Yes.
with flour and they are unable to fold it. What should they do?
Okay, so try to, what you can do is, if it's too crumbly, you can grab it and do one of the folds, or place 1/3 of your rectangle, place it on top of your midsection, okay? So, for instance, I'm gonna be doing this again. Okay.
Can you comment how the texture is different even now compared to before?
The texture, okay. The fold, what it's going to do is going to help us to get the layers that we're looking for on our biscuits. All right. So the more folds that we do, the more we're folding this dough, the less crumbly it's going to be. Okay.
Okay. And another question, if someone doesn't have a rolling pin, what are some alternatives?
So the alternatives for this is grab a bottle, all right? If you have a bottle of water, or if you have for your any plastic or glass bottle that it's clean, so you can actually use it as a roller, okay? So we're onto our second. And if you guys notice, this is not as crumbly as it was before. It's still crumbly, but it's a little bit more friendly when you handle this, okay? So we keep working our rectangle. And as you can see, okay, this is going to be our third fold, okay, guys? We're going to keep doing this. All right.
Are you maintaining the same size before each fold, or how big is it each time?
This it will change. I mean, it's not a set size. Something anywhere between 7 inches by 12, or if you got a 9 by 15, that's fine, okay? As long as you have enough room to do your folds, you'll be okay. Okay. So this is going to be our third, yes?
So I have a couple requests to give it a moment. Some people are still on their second fold.
Absolutely.
And so they just want to be able to catch up a little bit.
But if you see, okay, now you see that I'm on my third fold, and this is looking less crumbly, let's put it that. Even if it's crumbly, like I said, at the end of the day, this is going to help us to get flaky biscuits. So don't worry, this is not a big problem, okay?
Another question, is there turning between folds? Are you turning the dough?
No, I'm not turning it.
Okay.
There is no turn. You just have to fold it.
So at this point, how many times have you rolled it?
So this is going to be my third. I'm sorry, this is going to be my fourth fold.
This is the third time rolling it?
Yes, I'm going onto my 4. Okay, so here you are. We're still working. And like I said, at the end of the day, it's going to depend on how you like, how thick or tall you want your biscuits, okay? So if you want like a really tall biscuit, your last fold has to be, you have to make a really small rectangle in order to get a high biscuit, all right? So this is going to be my 4. And I'll keep working my dough, all right? And I'm onto my 4th fold, okay? And you guys can see that this is getting more put together, okay?
2 questions just came in about dough getting stuck either on the rolling pin.
Yeah, that's fine. If it gets stuck, watch this, using your scraper or even your hands, you can just...
I think they're referring to actually while they're rolling it.
Okay, if you have a little bit of flour, what you can do, you have flour, the flour that you are a little left over from this recipe, you can grab it in your hand and just roll, or that's one. The other is just sprinkle a little bit on top of your dough to prevent the pin from getting stuck, all right?
Thank you.
You see, once you roll, nothing is getting, only the flour, okay? So this is it, I'm on my 4th, okay? And like I said, if you guys like thick, tall biscuits, what you can do is just get a really small rectangle, all right? And that'll do, okay?
Okay, sorry, one more rolling folding question.
Yes.
A couple people have asked, can you please confirm how many times did you fold and how many times did you roll? And can you repeat?
4 times.
4 folds.
Yeah, 4 folds.
And then rolling between each. So you rolled 3 times between the folds.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's it. Okay? This is going to be all right? That's the end. All right? And don't worry if it's crumbly, that's fine. All right? So next, what we're going to do is we're going to cut them. Like I said, and this depends on the size, the thickness, how high you want your biscuits, all right? But in this case, let's see, if I cut this 1, 2, and then, so I'm gonna mark it so you guys know. This is gonna be, all right? So I'm gonna be getting 6. And so this is gonna be like 3 by 3.5 inches. And the height could be probably like 2 inches high, all right? If you want something, higher, you can do like a smaller. All right. You see, the smaller the rectangle. All right. And once it's marked, you know where to cut, and you're going to get a still 6. Of course, they're going to be smaller, but they're going to be a little taller. All right. Are we all on the same page right now?
If someone wanted round biscuits, how would they achieve that?
Well, the round biscuits, you need to have like a cookie cutter, a round cookie cutter, and that will help you. And then, for instance, I have this ramekin here with me. So you're going to be, and this is just to show, but the cookie cutter is really thin, and that will help you to get the desired shape. So what you do is once you press, you twist, and that will help you get the round biscuit, okay? But you need a special tool, it's called cookie cutter. And they come in different sizes. Sometimes they sell it in sets, like, I don't know, it depends, like small, round, and I don't know, anywhere from like 3 inches all the way to like 6 or sometimes even 9 inches. No, actually, that's too big. Maybe like 3 inches to like 6 inches, and that's fine. So now we're gonna cut.
And someone asked, could they use a glass to cut out the biscuits?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah, you guys can use a glass, totally. That's totally perfect. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do with my knife, I'm gonna just cut here. I'm gonna make 1, 2, or if you have this also, I want to show you. All right. So the next thing we're gonna do with your bench scraper, you can pick this up, place them in your all right, you're gonna place them in your baking sheet, all right? You're gonna give them space. And you have something left in your bench or working space, you just can put it up here on top, okay? And just, all right? So this is the end result.
Question about, someone wanted to know, they just asked about the parchment paper. The parchment paper should already be on.
The parchment paper, correct. The parchment paper should be already placed in your baking sheet, okay? So it's already. And you just place it there and that's it. The next step is we're gonna need to, this is where some people was asking if about the oven. So this will give us, now we're gonna turn the oven on. It's gonna be at 400 degrees, and this will gonna give us the opportunity to have our biscuits and put them in the fridge so they can rest. This will help to our butter to solidify a little bit, and that will help us also get a better flakiness once it's in the oven. All right. So this is.
So they are still a little crumbly, and that's okay.
There is crumbly, see?
Yeah.
And that's just fine. If you guys can see, this one here is really, they're all crumbly. So we're gonna place this in our fridge, and we're gonna let them rest from the time that we turn the oven on until it reaches the temperature. They're gonna be resting in the fridge, okay? In the meantime, if you have any more questions, go ahead and I'll be glad to answer those questions. So we're gonna turn the oven. It's gonna be 400 degrees. Okay, so you guys can experiment. The shapes is totally up to you, all right? So you want triangles, you want rectangles, you want round biscuits. That's up to you, okay? And you can use, your imagination. Use a knife, use a glass. Someone asked, a glass. It's also a good. If you can do it, go ahead. Feel free to experiment, okay? So next. Remember that we save a little bit of our butter. We have a ramekin here.
Can we, I have some other questions right now. Okay. Totally. Just a couple of people asked about the temperature. So I just want to confirm it's 400 degrees Fahrenheit.
Correct.
Someone asked, what are we saving extra butter for?
Okay, so that's what I'm going. So the butter, if you have I'm pretty sure you guys have a microwave oven. Place the rest of the butter, put it for like 30 seconds in your microwave because we're gonna melt this. This we're gonna use to brush. Remember that we have this little brush, pastry brush. we're gonna brush the top of our biscuits before they go into the oven, so we get the nice golden brown and crisp top in your biscuits. Okay, so 30 seconds.
We got a question. Do I have to put the biscuits in the fridge?
Yes, please, because let's and this is the reason why is because we were handling the dough, you know, with your hands. The body temperature is you know, I don't know, like 90 something degrees. Your hands are hot, so the more you were handling your biscuits, you're transferring that temperature to the butter and to all the mix. So they need to rest in order put them in the fridge, because that will allow the butter to get bring the temperature a little low, and also since we were rolling our biscuits, they're gonna relax a little bit, so they're not shrink once you put them in the oven. Okay, so what this is gonna do is gonna relax the dough and get the butter back into a lower temperature, so it gets colder, and that will benefit the biscuits once they're in the oven. All right, and I guess our next...
A couple more questions.
Yeah.
Another question, why did you dip the butter roll into the flour at the very beginning before you shredded it? What was the purpose of that?
Oh, so when you so it's not just sticking on your hands, okay? It's easier to handle, so you coat the butter stick with the flour, and that way you can grate and not ending with like melting butter in your hands. That was the purpose of doing it.
Okay, and there's a question, if people are a little behind, can they catch up and then put it in the fridge later and then bake it later? So they can do it on their time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's some questions, if they don't want to bake it tonight, can they freeze the dough?
Yeah, please do, yes. That's allowed. Put it in the freezer.
How should they wrap it in the freezer?
Okay, so what you can do is on your either you put it like a plastic wrap on the bottom. So pretend this is your biscuit. Place a piece of plastic, put one next to each other, and just wrap it up. Put it in the fridge, and that's actually gonna help you get a better results. Yeah, definitely.
Another similar question, someone asked if they could refrigerate it. At what point, like how soon into the future do they need to be baking it if they're going to either refrigerate it or freeze it?
Well, since we're using mostly baking powder and baking soda, actually this can stay in the fridge or the freezer, I don't know, maybe like a week. That's up to you. Usually, you know, in a professional bakery, they don't stay longer than 3 or 4 days. But in home, you can leave it in the freezer for like a week or maybe more than that.
Okay.
That'll be fine, yes.
One more freezer question.
Yeah.
After the biscuits are baked, could they be frozen as well?
Yes, they can. Yeah, definitely, they can be frozen. But yeah. That's valid. You can do that, definitely.
Okay, so just to confirm again, someone asked about the preheating. What is the temperature again? Should they be preheating right now?
So the temperature is 400 degrees, all right? And you're gonna bake your biscuits anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes, depending on how golden brown you want your biscuits. My personal preference is getting like a little bit dark, because they get really nice crisp on the bottom and on the top, okay? They're nice and flaky if you let them like go for like a really dark golden brown color on your biscuits.
Okay.
That's correct. So I guess now it's the strawberry jam, correct?
Great.
And this is where Nicole comes into the picture. Thank you, guys. Okay. If you have more questions, I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
Real quick, someone asked which rack in the oven will they be using? So they should get the rack ready to go.
Yeah, use
the biscuits.
the middle rack. That's fine. The middle rack is fine. If you want to really crisp, top crisp biscuits, you can use even the top rack. But the middle rack, let's use the middle rack now. That's going to be great.
Okay, so we're just waiting a couple minutes for our oven to finish preheating. And when that happens, we'll take the biscuits out of the fridge. Tony will do the butter brushing, and then he'll put the biscuits in the fridge. But while we're waiting for the preheat, we're going to get ready to make our strawberry jam. So if you're going to make the jam tonight, this recipe is quite simple. So you've already done all the hard work. Now you just have the jam, and we have 3 ingredients. We have 1 quart of hulled and halved strawberries. So hulled just means you've taken the stem off with the green leaves. So that's 1.5 pounds, 24 ounces. We have a half a cup sugar, and then 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So if you haven't already, get those ingredients ready to go, so you have them ready. And then you'll be cooking them on the stove. So the stove is behind us, so I'm actually going to use a portable burner here today, right under the camera. So I'm going to get that set up. And so we're going to get the stove. Okay, so we're going to get set up. So I have my burner. I have my strawberries. They've already, you can see they've been hulled and halved. So we want to cut them into pieces to make it easier for the juices to be extracted from the fruit while we're cooking it. Yeah, in a moment. And then we have our half cup sugar. Thanks. And 2 tablespoons lemon juice, fresh. So I already squeezed this. Just a little tip. This recipe didn't use zest, but I often use zest for other recipes. So before I juice the lemon, I zested it, and zest actually keeps well in the freezer. So then I froze the zest so I can use for future recipes in the future. So we are ready to go with our jam ingredients here. However, the oven just preheated. So we're going to have Tony show you how to put the butter on the biscuits so we can get those in the oven. And then while the biscuits are baking, we will finish up the jam.
All right. So now I'm going to take out the, so here we are. We'll rest it. This little, melted butter. And with your brush, I don't know if you want to go there and check the, anyone has questions? So this is what you're going to do. Just a little tip, it's better and you have a better control if you grab your pastry brush right from the middle. See how I'm doing here? Grab it like that, you have a better control. You can be as gentle or as, in this case, in pastry kitchens, you have to be very gentle when it comes to brushing because we bakers work with a lot of pastries that actually contain a lot of air, pockets of air inside them. And the more gentle you are, the better the results, okay?
Mm-hmm. And what does brushing the butter on top, what does that do?
So this is what you're gonna achieve with brushing this butter is you're gonna get a better color on the top of your biscuits. They're not gonna come out pale-ish. You're gonna get that nice golden brown color, okay? So here it is. We finished all of them. All our butter is on top of our, okay? So now, like I said, you're gonna put the biscuits in the middle rack of your oven, which is already reaches the temperature 400 degrees, and it's gonna be anywhere between 20 to 25 minutes. If you know your oven, I usually recommend halfway through the baking, open your oven, turn around your tray, and so they're actually baked evenly, okay? So here we go. All right, 20 to 25 minutes.
We got a question. Can we sprinkle sugar on top of the buttered
Definitely, you can
biscuits?
put sugar, yes. You can sprinkle sugar, you get a nice crusty upper layer on your biscuit. Yes, absolutely, you can do that. Get creative, please.
Okay, so now so our biscuits are in the oven, and we have about 20 minutes or so we're going to use this time to make our jam. So we have our burner. We have our strawberries. So 1.5 pounds of strawberries, or a quart. We have our 1/2 cup sugar and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And the one tool that we need is a potato masher or some sort of other masher. And you can either use a large skillet or I hear of a Dutch oven or another pot. If you're using a non-stick pot or skillet, make sure that you are not using a metal tool that would scrape the pot. Okay, so I'm going to turn on.
Someone is asking if they can use monk fruit sweetener instead of sugar in the strawberry jam.
So this recipe is specific for the 1/2 cup sugar, so I can't comment on that. I'm not well versed on monk fruit, but maybe you could look for alternative recipes online that would use that. I know a lot of recipes use the stevia sugar substitute that can be used in baking more as a replacement because it has similar texture, and that can be used easier with sugar. Okay, so all you're going to do is you're going to take all your ingredients and dump it in. So the fruit, the sugar, and then the lemon juice.
Someone is asking, what is the burner temperature?
Medium heat. Good question. So medium high. So you can already, you might be able to hear it. So it's already cooking and bubbling.
You need the meat there over there. The meats for.
So the sugar and lemon juice are actually helping draw the juices out of the fruit. And so we're going to cook it for about 9 minutes. Just looking at my timer over there. And so over time, you don't have to cut the fruit into smaller pieces. As it cooks, it will kind of dissolve, and then you can also use your masher. So I'm mashing the strawberries, so to get them into smaller pieces. And you might already see that we already have a lot of the juices from the strawberries are being drawn out into the mix. I'm going to move this up a little bit so it might be easier to see with the camera. Okay, so all 3 ingredients were dumped into the pot and it's cooking. You can see I have some bubbles going on there. And while it's cooking, so the lemon juice and the sugar is actually drawing the juices out of the strawberries. And I am taking the masher and I'm mashing it into smaller pieces. As it cooks, the strawberries will get softer and will make it easier to mash. While we're doing this over the 9 to 10 minutes, it will reduce. So we have a lot of liquid right now, and we want to reduce it to a point where it's thicker. Once we turn off the heat, it will thicken even a bit more, but right now it's really liquidy. You can see it's almost like a strawberry soup. And we're going to reduce it to the point where it's more like a jam-like consistency.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Someone is asking how high should the flame be That's number one.
Okay.
And the second question is, if they can use, what can they use instead of a potato masher? That's a good question. A potato masher.
If you don't have a potato masher,
Maybe a whisk, a metal whisk.
a metal whisk.
Yeah.
Okay. Or you could cut the strawberries into smaller pieces as well. That's another option.
Yeah.
This was adapted from a recipe that actually used a food processor first to puree the strawberry so that you didn't mash it. But in our test batch that we made, we found that the masher actually worked pretty well. So you can see I have some of the strawberry there. And you'll see I'm starting to get bubbles forming on the surface of the jam. So I'm continuing to mash. I only have a couple large pieces, so I'm trying to mash out any of the larger pieces of strawberry. I have it on a medium-high flame. So if your oven, like mine goes to level 6, I would have it, like a 4 or 5 right now. You can see there's a boil. It's not overflowing boil, but there is bubbling going on, and we are reducing the liquid mixture right now. So it's boiling off some of the liquid. I'm going to get a spatula. So I'm going to take my silicone spatula here and just get some of the strawberry puree off that got stuck on my masher. Okay, so you'll see we have the strawberry. We have bubbles that are covering the surface of the mixture, and it's reducing. So while it's boiling off some of the strawberry liquid, it's thickening the jam.
So someone is asking me that they noticed that the recipe is not using pectin. Does the jam need it?
It does. Okay, so someone asked about pectin. A lot of commercial jams have pectin in them. See, I'm actually going to turn this down a little. I want it to be simmering, but I don't want a huge boil right here. So pectin is often used in jams as a thickening agent, and we don't need to. There should be enough natural pectin in the fruit to enable our jam to be thick enough. If you want a really, really solid one that's more like a jelly, you could add pectin, but this recipe does not need it.
Someone is asking also, is it okay to keep the strawberries unmashed for a strawberry shortcake look?
Then we wouldn't be making a jam. But so if you wanted a strawberry shortcake look, I would save some strawberries on the side to look whole. Or if you want more, if you don't want to make jam and you want that more look, you could actually just take strawberries, cut them in half, add a little sugar, and then let them sit, and the sugar will actually draw out some of the juices from the strawberries. It's called macerating. And if you want a little bit of a glaze with more whole strawberries. But this is actually one that's creating more of a jam-like consistency where we're mashing.
Someone also asking, what does the lemon juice do to help the strawberries in making the jam?
Partly flavor, and then I believe it also helps draw out some of the juices. So when I'm making jam that I'm processing on the stove that I'm going to preserve, it also has lemon juice as well, and it also acts as, because it's adding acidity, it's a preservative.
Someone is also asking if a cast iron.
Sorry, one of our, okay, there we go.
Cast iron lot work for this?
I believe so, yeah. I don't use cast iron, but it should work okay. Mm-hmm. So you can see it's a bit thicker now. We've been going for 6 minutes so far, and it's quite a bit thicker. I have no large pieces of strawberry left. There's still some texture, so if you want a texture that is more, that has not as fine, you just mash a little less, or if you want like a really fine texture, just mash more, or you puree the strawberries ahead of time if you want. Okay, but I have bubbles over most of the surface. I have little small ones, and then I have bubbles from the boil itself. And again, we're on a medium-high heat. So we've been cooking about 7 minutes now, and we are reducing the liquid. So the water content of the jams is being boiled off, and we're being left with the sugars that occur naturally in the fruit, and then also the sugar that we've added as well. We're not processing this on the stove. This is something we're just going, after it cools, we're going to put into a jar and put in the fridge. And so someone had asked about the lemon juice, so that lemon juice will act as a natural preservative that when this jam, you can keep it up for at least a couple of weeks in the fridge and it should be okay.
We are almost halfway through our bake, and I'm going to turn around the.
Okay. So keep up with the questions. If you have any questions about the jam or the biscuits, if you're still working on your biscuits, no worries. You have plenty of time. You're welcome to continue this after we keep going.
All right. So.
Okay. All right. So Antonio is going to turn his biscuits around in the oven there. So we're trying to get an even bake on all sides of the biscuits. A lot of ovens have hot spots where they might, the heat might not be evenly distributed. So, and he's familiar with this oven. So we're doing this to get an even bake across all sides of the pan. Okay, so while I continue to stir, I'm still mashing a little bit. I really don't have any large pieces of jam left. And we have 12 minutes to go.
We have 12 minutes to go, yes.
Okay. Did you put it, so we're doing 25 total?
I'm doing 25, yes.
Okay.
I'm going to take them out like around 20.
Okay.
So we can see.
So we'll take them out around 20 to see. So if you have any questions,
Please feel free to ask.
feel free. So our jam is going to go for another few minutes. So I'm still not, even though we've been going for 9 minutes, I'm not at quite the consistency I want. It's thicker, but I want it to be it's a little too thin. So I'm just going to continue mashing a little. I'm going to boil just a few more minutes to get it to reduce.
But if you higher the temperature, will it help to get a...
I could increase the temperature. I actually already have a boil though. So I'll go a little bit, but I don't want to go too high. I don't want to be on high all the way up because it could cook it a little too much. I don't want to caramelize the sugar. I just want to reduce.
All right, I have a couple questions here. One regarding the biscuits.
Okay.
So
I'll let you take that one.
yeah, someone is asking how many minutes are the biscuits the first time. It could be 10 to 12 minutes before you turn them. So you get an even bake. The next questions are about the jam. One is saying, how do you preserve the jam?
Okay, so this actually is a jam that is not being preserved. I'm not processing it. When I refer to processing, that means I'm putting it in a sanitized jar that would have a new lid. So it would have a new lid here. I would put the jam in, seal it, and then I would put it in a vat of boiling water. Most jams are about 10 minutes or so. And by doing that, I'm basically, the processing in the boiling water, you're basically pasteurizing the jam. So you're boiling it to the point where you're boiling off any bacteria that might still be in there. And then it would be shelf stable. But we're actually not going to do that today. So we're not processing it. So after the jam cools, it has to be put in the fridge because it will not be shelf stable. But if you want to look into preserving jams, there are many recipes. I'm going to turn this down a little. It's boiling a little too vigorously. Jams So recipes for preserving jams are just a little bit different. Some use a little bit more lemon juice because you want more acidity. So today we're not processing it for shelf stability. We're making it in order to put in the fridge.
Someone is also saying that their jams is still pretty watery.
So possibly turn up the heat. Okay. So if it's too watery, and that is very common, I would maybe turn up the heat a little bit. You want to have a nice boil going on so that you're reducing the liquid. If you see it's boiling and if you see bubbles all across, that means the water in your mixture is evaporating and that you will get a reduction.
So they're still to keep going a little longer.
Yeah, so keep going a little longer. So you can see, here's my texture. Do you want to take a look at this too and see what you think? Okay. What do you think?
Oh yeah, yeah. Plus remember that it's gonna get also, once it's in the fridge, it gets a little more.
Right. So it's still a little liquidy now, but it's also it's just under boiling point. So as the jam cools, it will be less liquidy and more solid. It won't be like a jelly consistency. Jelly is very much more solid because of the pectin that's added. But this will be much thicker after it's cooled. Okay, so you can see basically like it's like a strawberry puree now. It kind of looks like. I don't have any large pieces of strawberry in the jam. It's all been mashed out, and we've reduced it to the point where it's kind of like a strawberry syrup. It's like a syrup that has that has strawberry puree in it. And I'm going to let this cool to the point. Once it's cool, I'll then put it in the jar later on. This makes roughly about 2 cups of jam. You can put it in a pint.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a pint is about 2 cups. If you have a pint jam jar or some other you want some container that has a lid so that you can store it in the fridge you won't use all of it at once, and then it will keep for up to a couple weeks or so.
So are we going to put this with the biscuits, right?
Yeah, so the idea is, when we made this before, is that we put this on the jam on our biscuits. Or if you had butter or honey butter or other toppings, you could do that as well.
Yeah, we have 7 minutes.
7 minutes? Okay.
Let's see how this.
So we have 7 minutes to go. That's for the full 25 minutes, but we're going to check it at about at least the 20-minute mark. You can use this time to catch up, to reduce your jam even more. As you can ask further questions. Okay.
All right. These are looking good.
So you can see it's pretty thick, and it will thicken up even more as it cools.
Let's see, there is no more questions.
Any other questions?
No.
Any in the queue?
No,
Okay.
not right now. Like I said, and also they have more questions about the biscuits. Feel free to ask, because now is the time. If if anything comes to mind,
Okay.
we'll be working on that.
Great. So while we're waiting for some questions, and while we're waiting for our biscuits to be done in the oven, if you have any pictures that you want, take some pictures today of either the process or of your finished product later on, and we encourage you to send them in. There will be an email sent out after the class by the Alumni Association, who is producing this event today, and they'll send you the recipe itself and instructions how to submit your photos, and then we will use them on the social media for both the UCLA Rose Bowl Bruins and for the UCLA Alumni Association, and you might see yourself online. I'll talk a little bit more about the Rose Bowl Bruins while we're waiting. We are a group of volunteers that are alumni and UCLA affiliates. Parents are welcome if you've gone to UCLA Extension. You are all members of the Rose Bowl Bruins, and we do programming in the San Gabriel Valley area. for other Bruins in order to network, to socialize, and form connections with the university. Again, we're all volunteers. We meet every other month. Right now we're meeting virtually because of COVID this year, but we are still doing programming as like you see today. And if you have ideas for other programs, please reach out to the Rose Bowl Bruins. And if you want to attend a meeting, we invite you to join one of our Zoom meetings as well. We meet every other month. We have, are there any questions right now?
Yes.
Oh,
so
great. Okay.
someone is saying, where can we taste some of your yummy creations? And I guess this is for me, maybe?
Yeah.
So, okay.
You want to come over? Why don't you come over here
Yeah.
and talk about where you can
All right.
taste Antonio's baked goods.
Okay, so now I'm working for it's a neighborhood bakery it's on Verdugo, and the neighborhood is called Glassell Park, and it's called Lemon Poppy. So basically what I'm doing there, I'm baking whatever all the creations, pastry, breads, and everything that they offer. And right now I am going to be baking this. It's a mostly Eastern European and Jewish pastry. It's called babka. So probably going to have that for sale. If it's not this coming weekend, the following one. And for now, you can go there and feel free to visit anytime. And it's only takeout orders. But say hi. Stop and say hi. And that's about it for now.
Okay, a couple biscuit questions come in. Can you again state how long is the total bake time, and at what point did you switch them?
Okay, so the total bake time, and this is just perfect personal preference. It could be anywhere between 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, I like my biscuits kind of dark golden brown. And you turn around, if I'm going to bake it for 25 minutes, 12 minutes into the baking, I turn them around so they bake evenly, all right?
And someone asked, how do we store the biscuits after they are baked?
Well, just make sure that either you put them in an airtight container and put them in the fridge. Whenever you want to reheat it, you can either use a toaster, actually cut them in half, put them in your toaster, or if you have like an electric oven, you can actually put them there, and also they're going to crisp them up a little bit more. So that's the best way to store your biscuits.
And someone also asked if they are putting their biscuit dough in the freezer for later, should they bake it from frozen or let it thaw?
No. You can totally bake from frozen, and it's going to take the exact same time. Okay, so yes, that's another thing that because it's going to take the same time. Also, you get pretty much the same results, and that's totally doable. Any other questions?
We got a comment. Will there be other future baking classes?
Well. I'm pretty sure we can work something out.
Also, one of the other alumni networks did a cake baking class recently, and it was recorded. So that link should be available somewhere on the alumni website. And we can also put it in the email that's going out to you after the class if you want to learn about baking cakes. But we'll look into future classes. I know with the Rose Bowl Bruins in the past, we've done some Valentine dessert classes. We did a Thai cooking class at one point over the years. But yeah, baking is fun, and it's definitely something we've been doing a lot of during the pandemic, as are a lot of people, I imagine.
All right, so these are almost on the 25-minute, and I'm going to take them out and show it to you guys to see where we at.
So I'm going to actually move the jam. Because we can put the pan here on the still patch because it's temperature resistant. So you'll see the jam. I've got a couple comments, people already tasting it. So you can see it's already thicker. So just by sitting for a few minutes, we have some thickness. And if you haven't tasted it yet, go ahead. You've earned it. Okay, I'm going to put the jam off to the side, and we're going to take the biscuits out. Whoa, these are really puffed up.
Yes. So this is, you can see, these are our biscuits. Personally, I don't like them to be like this fell up on top. So I'm going to put it back in to the oven because I want it to be a little darker. That way you get a nice crusty upper layer when you bite into them. So you can see the flaky right here. See? So there are some layers showing, and you can see that they're popped up. They pretty much kind of double in size. Let's put it that way. But see.
Couple questions. If you bake from frozen, do you still use the melted butter on top?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and you do it at that point when you bake them?
Absolutely. Before they go into the oven, you just brush it. They go inside, and that's it. So these particular ones, I'm going to put them back into the oven because I like them a little darker.
Okay.
Right?
And you've already flipped them at this point?
I already flipped them at this.
Okay, and there's just a time. I'm just going to take one off that we can show.
Absolutely.
Which one do you think is the most done?
This one here.
Okay, so we're going to pick this one. So we're going to put most of the biscuits back in the oven so they get a little bit darker color, but in the interest of time, we're going to show you one biscuit here and show you the layers and how you compare it with the jam. Let's get a spoon.
Okay.
Thanks. I had multiple questions on the Q&A asking Antonio to confirm the name of the business.
Oh, it's called Lemon Puppy, and it's on Verdugo on Glassell Park. That's the name of the neighborhood, okay? They're open 7 days a week from 8 in the morning till 3 p.m., okay? So feel free to visit, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
And so this is, you see,
Nice layers.
these are the layers there. So what folding does is create all these layers here, you see? You can see all these. And at the bottom is nice, but I like them to be a little bit more done, but that's just my personal preference. You guys can try them like this. These are pretty much done, but I like them to be a little darker up on top, okay? With this, see all these layers here? So this is what we're aiming for when we do the folds, okay? This technique of folding is what we use in the bakeries to do the we call laminated dough, and the best example for that is the croissants, or the buttery, flaky French pastry, which is very famous. It uses the same technique, the folding. Of course, the procedure is it's actually a lot different, but the principle is the same. So the more times you fold, not necessarily is where you get the more layers. So for the croissants, there is a limit. We fold them just 3 times, like the letter that we're doing, we just do that 3 times. Otherwise, we start losing layers. Instead of increasing, we lose the layers, okay? So 3 times for the croissants, that's enough. But for this purpose, 4 times is more than enough, all right? So I don't know if you wanna open up, or should I bring a knife?
Sure, let's bring a knife. I'm going to move the jam to the sides so you can get both in the shot here. Okay.
So we're going to cut it in half. See how it's crumbly.
Okay. Someone asked, is it okay if their biscuits are puffy?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's okay.
Yes.
See, this is the. So once they come out of the oven, just let them rest for like 5 minutes. All right, see all these little layers right there? So that's what we want. You can see. All right. There you go. Let me see if there are more questions.
Someone asked, could they use yogurt instead of butter?
Yes, yes, just do. For this particular recipe, you can use it, yes, totally. Someone is asking if I do any catering. Not for the moment. Not for the moment. Hopefully soon enough. But for now, I do not do catering.
One other, what are some different variations that people could do on biscuits? If they wanted to add some special item, other ingredients, what are other ingredients?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, this is all right. So there are some, you can either do frozen fruits, you can do, if you want savory, you can do pretty much bacon. Bacon is pretty popular. Bacon, you can do chives. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do, and this is totally up to you. I mean, that's whatever you can imagine that you like when it comes to fruit, when it comes to some herbs. In this case, like I said, bacon. Go ahead and do it.
And with jam, sometimes people put herbs like rosemary or maybe lavender in their jam. Candied ginger or fresh ginger is another one to give it to give other notes in the jam.
All right. So
okay. So I think let's see. So I'm going to show real quick how I put. If you are using jars, I'm going to show you one way how to fill. So if you are into making jam a lot, you'll have this plastic device, and it helps you fill the jars.
like a funnel.
A funnel, thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Without splattering and getting jam around the side. And I use a ladle. So if your my jam has cooled a lot, you'll see it's a lot thicker, and I can ladle my jam into my jar or whatever container, or if you want, you could just pour it into a container. This is what I usually do. So, Antenna, I'm actually gonna have you help me.
Yeah, sure.
Can you get the mitts and then hold this?
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks. I'll have you go to the other side. Okay. I'm going to use it. So I'm going to have you hold it. Okay, so I'm just ladling the jam into the jar. And like I said earlier, we're getting about 2 cups of jam. I'm using my rubber spatula, rubber scraper, and I'm getting the jam out. There's another question. Can you tilt it a little there?
Yeah.
Okay, one more question. Someone asked, what was the saran wrap for? And we forgot about that.
Oh, the Saran wrap. Okay, so there's many purposes. One, if you want to cover your biscuits once they are resting in the fridge, that's fine. Or after you're done with your biscuits, you can just wrap them up and once they're baked and put them away in the fridge. Or if you don't want to bake them right away, what you can do is also wrap them up with a plastic wrap and put them in the freezer. So you can bake them a day, a week, 2 weeks later. That's perfectly fine, okay? So there's more than one use.
Okay, so here we have our biscuit. Again, we took this one out a little bit earlier, so it's a little lighter. We have our jam that we've made, and you can see it's still slightly thin because it's still warm. Like my jar is very warm to the touch there, but once this has been refrigerated, it will be much thicker. And however you like to put your jam on your biscuits, if you want to open up the layers, put it in there, and you can see how much thicker the jam is now. This will be our dessert today.
Hello.
Hello.
All right.
Okay, if you have any, we're about to wrap up. So if you have any last questions, please get them in on the Q&A section. And how are biscuits? Are they almost done here?
They're almost done, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're getting color.
Okay. Would you like some?
Cool.
All right, gotta enjoy what we make, right?
Get in there.
So you can see jam is thicker, still a little thin because it's warm, but it's a lot thicker than when we started.
Oh, wow. All right.
All right. I'm gonna check one last time for questions. Someone asked about drop biscuits if they don't want to cut.
No, the drop biscuit is a totally different recipe. The drop biscuit, it's a wet, really wet. It's a mix. It's actually not even, we can call it actually batter because it's really, really wet. So with this recipe, you cannot do that because you need to increase the liquid to get like a really, really wet. So you can grab like a, what is it called? Like a ladle or like a cookie. Yeah, you can grab a ladle and then you put them in the in your baking sheet. But that's a totally different recipe. This is not part of the drop biscuit. All right.
We've gotten a couple questions about jam thickness. You'll know when to stop cooking when it's almost to the desired thickness, so it's still a little thin, because once it cools, it will gain some thickness. Someone asked if it's not as thick as I like, could I add chia seeds? I wouldn't recommend it because they would absorb a lot of water, but if that's something you want to experiment with, go for it. The jam should last about a couple weeks in the fridge safely. It usually doesn't last that long around here, but it should last that long. Let's see, someone asked, can we not add sugar in the biscuits?
No
Or sugar needed?
Yes, that's fine. You cannot put sugar in the biscuits. It won't affect the consistency or the texture of the biscuits for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other last questions there?
I think that's it. So, those are all the ones that I've seen so far.
All right. Nice.
Let's see. Biscuits. Someone has been a lemon poppy and likes their muffins. Thank you so much.
Oh, they're good. They have a good banana muffin.
Someone asked if they could use gluten-free flour for the biscuit dough. Would it affect it?
Yes, you won't get this result. Not for this recipe in particular. You cannot switch to gluten-free flour. The one reason why we ask you guys to do the King Arthur flour is because among the AP flours is the one that has the higher content of protein, and gluten is the protein that you need.
Okay, so 11.7% protein.
Yeah. So the answer is no. You cannot change the gluten-free flour for this recipe. We will have to get like a specific recipe for a gluten-free biscuit.
Right.
All right, guys.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know an hour and a half, so thank you for your time. Great way to spend a Monday night. And now you have a bunch of biscuits or jam, or if you haven't made it yet, you have some recipes that can help you with some adventures in the kitchen coming up. So again, I'm Nicole. This is Antonia. Thank you for joining us. And this event was put on by the Rose Bowl Bruins and UCLA Alumni Association. So thank you again. Go Bruins and have a great night. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.